In today's video, how to sign on a heck of a lot more clients using the Andrew Huberman method. You may or may not be familiar with Dr. Andrew Huberman, a Stanford psychologist, I believe, who runs his own YouTube podcast. Today's topic is to help you sign on more clients. So if you're a coach, consultant, course creator, expert in your field, and you're having two types of problems, either you're not closing as many people as you'd like to, or you're having trouble getting enough leads to get on calls with you, I'm going to be solving that problem for you today. So a traditional or a typical way of looking at the entire process from like a 30,000 feet view, a bird's eye view, is you have leads, and excuse my horrible stick writing, you have leads, then you, however which way you acquire them, and maybe you go use a term that I personally hate, which is called friend farming, or you use some other method, you scrape emails, or you send emails, find people, however which way, go to groups, you add them wherever, then you expose them to content. This could be whatever platforms you're active on. It could be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, so on. And I'm not getting into the details of what content actually looks like, but then you expose them to content which is supposedly supposed to do its job, nurture them, hit as many touch points as possible. And a lot of people get this wrong about touch points. A touch point is not necessarily a DM. A touch point is any interaction between you and that person. And so you wait for them to hit enough touch points with you before you initiate a conversation, some form conversation. Now, usually this is in the DMs, although in my opinion, the conversation starts here in content. We're speaking to the person. Eventually, if you've qualified the person, you ideally, hopefully get them on a call, you close them, and you make some much needed money. And this is the entire process the way you've been taught. But what if I was to tell you that the way you're looking at the process is completely wrong? And this is the reason why it's not allowing you to close enough people. Your content is not landing. This is the reason why you're getting horrible prospects on calls with you. And so let me explain what happens when we deploy this process. So when we deploy this process, let's say this is, the sale is not happening. And so people either try to work harder, or people try to work harder in the DMs, pre-qualify them, somehow try to do this, so on and so forth. They usually focus on the process itself to try and fix the whole thing, right? Like if you're not booking enough calls, you're going to be looking at the DMs. If you're not making enough sales, you're going to be looking at the sales. However, there is another way of looking at the same process again. So you have, let me fix this at 100. You have your leads, which is those bunch of people, group of people. These are your leads. And these are then exposed to content, which could be whichever platform you have it, which then leads to a conversation, which then leads to a sale, which then leads to essentially fulfillment, which then again leads to leads. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is wrong with you? How can fulfillment lead back to sales? And therein lies the problem. And this is where most people, most of the time, go wrong, give up, flatten out, or just suffer, the tide of the industry. Because people have not been taught to look at the process the right way. We've been taught to look at it as something that is linear, goes straight, right? But in reality, it's actually not linear, it's a circle. And I'll explain to you how. I'll explain to you where most people go wrong also. What is Andrew Huberman known for? He's a scientist. Scientists iterate. Scientists do not assume anything to be linear. Scientists understand causality. If this is not happening, meaning if you're not making enough sales, you don't go harder on sales. The problem usually lies one step behind. It lies in the conversation somewhere. It's not the sales. Like you can go, this is what leads to, this leads to two things. It leads to very unpleasant, weird sales calls, a lot of guilt tripping, naming, shaming, or it leads to people shying away from sales completely. Like, I don't like doing sales, right? I don't like doing sales is another way of saying I am so uncomfortable selling to someone what my gift to the world that I'd rather do something else than sell my gift. I'm not being facetious. I'm just sharing what some people's perspective looks like. However, change the way you see the process and you go behind. If enough people aren't jumping on calls with you or opening up to you, you don't have to go harder in the DMs. Like you ever see those weird ass DMs like, would you be against adding 15 new appointments to your calendar? Like, it's a loaded question. It's designed to get you on the defensive. And while it's designed to get a response from you, and the response will probably be, no, I'm not against that. It's not designed to open you up as a human being. It's not designed to build trust. It's not designed to build authority. It's not designed to do anything except to get you to respond. And a response means nothing. It doesn't mean someone's going to buy from you. So if you go back and you look at the whole process, this is where the problem lies. If enough people aren't getting on calls with you, The problem isn't that you're not offering enough people, although a lot of people would have you believe, to offer 150 calls and then 2 random people will book with you. I'll give you a saying for that. Even if a blind man throws a stone at a wall enough times, out of 100 times, once or twice he's bound to hit the target. So it works, but it's not effective. It's not the best use of your time. The other reason is because content is one too many. Whereas a conversation, especially a DM conversation or a sales conversation, both of these are one-to-one. From a human effort point of view, it makes less sense to spend hours and hours and hours convincing someone to buy from you, convincing someone of your value or your worth or whatever it is you have to offer. And it makes a lot more sense to do it in your content that's going to be then seen by a lot of people. My general advice to people is learn to get good at content so you don't have to get good at spending hours and hours and hours grinding away in the DMs playing word games, right? So where is the biggest problem? Why do most people don't end up doing this, right? What do I do with my clients all the time? The reason why most people don't end up doing this is because the moment they have a problem, instead of rewinding back and going this way, they start going other ways. And so let me give you an example. When this, for example, when this doesn't work, when conversations don't work, instead of going to and fixing content, they start fragmenting away. They start going in other directions. And so what this can look like is, for example, if you have bad content or your content is not taking off, let's say on Facebook, instead of fixing content, people jump to YouTube or people jump to TikTok or whatever, like whichever platform you're on. So if you're not booking enough calls, instead of going back to content to figure out what the problem is, you will fragment. You won't do anything about content, you'll just fragment it and divide it even more platforms, which actually makes it harder because now you have multiple platforms to learn, and the formatting and the way people respond to you, the human psychology, the consumption patterns, so on and so forth, instead of just figuring out the problem. Same thing applies for content. If content is not working, if you think you've got it right, but it's not working for whatever which reason, you don't go harder and try to push it to more people or try to sort of, play the algorithm, all those weird things. You go back to lead generation. You go back to look at the quality of people that you're getting on calls with. And some of the times I ask people, are you even booking calls with people who would be ideal clients, or are you booking calls with random ass people who you're then trying to convince to buy from you? Just because someone's overweight doesn't mean they're gonna buy weight loss from you. Let's look at it much way. Just because someone's overweight doesn't mean they're looking to lose weight. Just because someone's overweight and they're looking to lose weight doesn't mean they want you to be the person to help them lose the weight, right? Lead qualification. I don't know why so many people use weird ass things like friends farming. Like, how on earth can you farm a friend? It doesn't even make sense. And that's why a lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen examples of this, will blow up on TikTok, but no one's going to buy from them, right? Qualification. TikTok is not where their audience hang out. Just because you're looking at somebody's title and it says entrepreneur doesn't mean they have money to pay you. There's millions and millions every single day. Tons of people add the word entrepreneur to their bio to make it sound cool. Does that mean they're financially qualified to work with you? Heck no. So it's not as simple as this. You make 10K doing the same thing. It's a process of iterating. You keep iterating. You keep it. And the worst thing people do, right? Like so I've given you examples of what happens here. What happens here when this doesn't work? What do people do? They never look at their lead qualification. They go off and they start looking at their offer, right? They start looking at the offer. They start looking at the niche. Whereas, I always tell people, if you have other coaches selling the exact same offer that you're selling and they're making money, then it's a validated offer. It's a validated niche. There is no need to second guess that. So if what you're selling is validated, then you don't need to go and rebuild an offer, and you don't need to go and, find the magic niche where a bunch of rich people hang out and whoever says the magic word, they will give money to. No. You need to look at your way of qualifying people. You need to look at your way of nurturing people, walking them through the circle, the next step, so on and so forth. And the reason I link sales back to is because you want the best people from here to be getting on calls with you, the best of the best of the best. You should not be entertaining or talking to anyone except your best ideal clients. And the way to do this is to look at Go back and look at the best people that have worked with you, the ones who are the most coachable, the ones who got the best results, the ones who had the least friction in coaching or helping or, being a therapist for whatever it is you do. And then create everything accordingly for those people. That means content. If I had a dime for every time I see someone making content because they felt like making content, because they felt like sharing it with the world, instead of content that their ideal dream prospects wants, yeah, I'd have a little more money. But like this, stop making personality content. Stop making content because you feel like sharing with the world. Like, you can do that on a separate platform, but if you're running a business, all your content needs to be designed for your perfect client. In their words, fixing their problems, helping them come closer to you. Not like trust or respect, resonance, and rationale, or ethos, logos, and pathos. Like, these are the only 3 things you need for persuasive content. And so I hope this helps you, and I hope this changes the way you look at things, because, in the DMs, oh my God, the stories I've heard. This area, boys and girls, the sales and the convos, oh boy. It's an absolute mess right now. I hope this helps you. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you found this useful, and if you want more whiteboard style content, I'd be happy to break things down for you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.